Story time. Jason and Rose's love started since high school. They grew up together in the same area and walked to school together every day. But there is a problem. Rose's sister Julian has a big crush on Jason ever since they were kids. She often told Rose about it but refused to tell Jason how she really felt about him. This drama went on for years until one day Jason took Rose to the park and told her he has been crushing on her for a while now and would like for her to be his girlfriend. Rose hesitated at first because she knew her sister has a big crush on Jason, but she thought to herself, she has never made a move, maybe she has gotten over him. She later agreed and then they started dating. Rose keeps it a secret from Julian because she doesn't know how she would react about it. Few years later, Jason and Julian entered the same university together studying medicine, while Rose entered a different university for her law degree. Coincidence? Who knows? However, this makes Jason and Julian very close. They study together and they take lectures together. As time goes on, the distance between Rose and Jason starts to have a great impact in their relationship. Although they try to make things work, the studies and schoolwork sometimes take their attention away from each other. Julian uses this opportunity to force herself on Jason. When they study, she usually tries to maintain eye contact with Jason and have some inappropriate sexual talks with him. One time, when she has had enough, she tries to kiss Jason. But he stops her and tells her he's in love with someone else. 2 years goes by, and this is still going on. One day, Jason had a bitter argument with Rose over the phone, and Rose tells him they should take a break in their relationship. This really messed Jason up. He goes out and drinks until he's intoxicated and walks back to his hostel. As he enters his room, he sees Julian sitting on the bed reading. She asks him, "Where have you been all this while?" But he bursts in tears and lies on the bed crying. Julian then tries comforting him and lays his head on her chest. As Jason looks at Julian, he sees Rose. He then holds her head and kisses her passionately. Julian is in shock, but this is what she has always wanted. So she kisses him back, and one thing led to another, they smashed. Jason is shocked to see Julian in the bed with him. But he knows something happened between them, for sure, but he regrets having done that. I mean, he just slept with his girlfriend's sister. He then tells Julian he is sorry for what happened. But Julian says she isn't sorry, and then confesses her feelings for Jason. She tells him she has been crushing on him ever since they were kids, but didn't know how to tell him. Jason then tells her she cannot be in love with him because he is in love with someone else. He then walks out, leaving Julian in the room. 3 weeks go by, and Jason starts distancing himself from Julian. One day, Julian becomes extremely ill, vomiting and all. She is then taken to the hospital for treatment. Jason later meets her in the hospital. As he arrives, he sees Julian crying on the hospital bed. He then asks her, "What is the matter?" But Julian doesn't respond. He tries to console her as he persuades her to tell him the reason for her sadness. Then Julian lets the cat out of the bag. "I'm pregnant, Jason." He is shocked to hear this news. His heart starts pounding. "Do you know the person responsible?" he asks. Julian looks at him and says, "Yes, Jason, it's you." Jason sits down in complete shock saying, "This can't be. This is impossible." He then turns to Julian and asks, "Are you sure? I mean, how is this possible?" Julian then tells him he is the only man she has ever been with, and it must have happened the night they smashed. Days go by. Jason receives a call from Rose apologizing for her behavior and tells him she wants him back. She tells him once they graduate in a few months' time, they would be together and not have these distance issues anymore. Jason is happy to hear all this, but he couldn't get himself to tell her what is going on between him and her sister. So he goes to Julian begging for her to get rid of the pregnancy. But she says she will have the baby whether Jason supports her or not. Few months goes by. Julian hid the pregnancy from her entire family because the man responsible doesn't want to take responsibility of the pregnancy. After graduation, Jason proposes to Rose. Rose is extremely happy. I mean, she's done with college, she has a good job, and now she's getting married. She goes and tells her entire family about the proposal. They are all happy to hear about the news. They ask her who the man is and they would like to meet him. Rose tells them he will visit them the coming Saturday. The day finally arrives. The entire family is there to meet with the wonderful man. Everyone is sitting in the dining room. As he arrives, Rose's mom and dad goes to the door to welcome him. They greet him well and they invite him into the dining table. As he greets everyone, he sees Julian. She sits there in shame and disappointment as they make arrangements for the wedding. The wedding is scheduled to take place in a few months' time, as they would be traveling soon after the wedding. Julian is now 5 months pregnant. The pregnancy is beginning to show, and her parents have started asking questions about the father of the child. But because everyone is focused on the wedding, they paid less attention to Julian. On the day of the wedding, Rose is now dressed in her wedding dress and preparing to go to church when she asks Julian for some water. As Julian goes to the kitchen for the water, she slips some substance in the water. She gives the water to Rose and watches her drink it. On the way to the church, Rose starts to feel sick, but she doesn't want to miss her wedding. She insists she is taken to the church. She's walked down the aisle by her father, and he hands her over to Jason. But as they are reading their vows, Rose collapsed to the floor. Everyone starts rushing to her to help her. Jason starts crying as he sees Julian sitting from her seat smiling. He then tries to attack her, saying, You did this. You are so evil." This is when Julian stands up and explained everything that has transpired between her and Jason to the entire church. Unfortunately, Rose doesn't make it as she loses her life on their way to the hospital. Julian is then imprisoned for 25 years to life in prison. A child is given to her parent who takes care of the baby, and Jason drowns his misery every day in alcohol as he thinks about Rose and what he could have done to prevent it. The end. Thank you for watching. If you love stories like this and would love to see more stories like this, please leave a like, give me a follow, comment your thoughts on the story below.